So welcome Trisha. Today, number 5 of quantum time travel. So in the final module, we are going to be speaking about the practices, in which we can cover this concept of quantum time travel. And we are going to have this final Firekeeper transmission and talk a little bit about the Munay-Ki rites and their connection to the time travel, to quantum time travel. So welcome once more, and as every session, let's start off with dropping down to our breath for a while to prepare for timelessness. So I invite you to connect to your heart space, and let's take a few deep breaths in silence. Okay, welcome back. As we are prepared for the session, let's remind ourselves, what did we pass through of wisdom the last 4 days? So the first day we spoke about releasing this linear time illusion. The second module, we actually walked the medicine wheel and the prospect of shamanic time in connection to the medicine wheel. So on module 3, we spoke about frequency coherence and also our luminous destiny. Yesterday, we spoke about rewriting the self-fulfilling prophecies which we carry around by our belief system and by our perspectives that we create. So today we are going to seal this spiral of the quantum time travel. And we are in a way going to walk out of this journey as the firekeepers of the living cosmos, ready to embody and teach and live in circular time in every breath that we take. So we're going to start our main transmission with speaking a little bit about practices for living in circular time and how can we embody this notion of the circular time in our everyday lives. So to live this spiral of time, this is not kind of like a one-time ceremony or a one-time solution. This is a practice, and it's kind of like a rhythm that we need to carry into every day of our lives. So circular time is inviting us to move with coherent systems in our bodies and minds and our soul. So practicing the elevated emotions like gratitude and envisioning our future is helping us, to weave through the past, to heal the woundings, connect them to the present and the future into one living thread. And I want to give us some simple gateways that can shape this gathering of the timelines from the past, present, and the future, and we can adopt them actually as we wish, these practices. So what can we do? As the first, we can create a timeline journaling. You can kind of map our past, our present, and future self on a piece of paper or a journal to see these loops that we are creating and to kind of, by observation, rewrite these loops also. And this gives us a chance to heal some of these stagnant energies that we often so much carry in our present time. So second practice would be breath work. And this breath, well, I call it the breath of spiral integration. And this is just within visualizing while we consciously create a breathwork session. It's like this gentle cycle of breath, inhalations and exhalations that unites the earth, the heart, and the sky. And in that way creates this coherent magnetic space around our bodies. So third practice is mirror time. I call it the mirror time. And this is for us to be able to speak our prophecies, into our own eyes, to be looking at ourselves in the mirror deeply and asking ourselves these questions through this shamanic practice, and through observation kind of anchor the version of our new selves. So mirror time, very important practice in this notion of figuring out what is our real mask, the most real mask that we carry close to our wholeness. So the fourth practice, which can influence the quantum time, is the offering of despachos. Well, this practice is bound to our lineage, to the Kero lineage. And despachos are offerings mostly given to Mother Earth or Father Sky, but also can be given to our villages, to our communities, and also to ourselves at the very end. If we envision this very special future or one or another goal that we carry and that we so wish to achieve, we can also make an offering to the creation for ourselves through despacho. So this kind of energetic action really has an effective way of influencing our future. And then the practice of future self-embodiment, which we spoke of in a few of our previous modules. So this is feeling and acting from the energy of who we are becoming. And this is very important as well, because this is the way that we really call upon the future version of ourselves and embody in the present moment. In that way, we can really step into the abundant future in the most real time. So this is important really to remember, embodiment of our future selves. So then we can create these daily mythic rhythms. And what is that? This kind of opening and closing every day like a sacred loop. And, in a way also assessing ourselves, looking at our mornings, looking at our noons and at our evenings and checking out, what was it that went smooth and in a flow? Were there any places throughout our day where we were kind of stuck and we were pushing it, too much? And by assessment, we can really get a lot of insight on ourselves and correct and simply implement this better state of flow of creativity in our everyday lives. So as the last one, we mentioned this the other session, these are the moments of kairos, and these are the moments of synchronicity and, these divine openings, we can call them. And these can also be a symbolic sign from our future destiny that we can then assess and implement into our present. So that said, these practices just mentioned, well, these can be adjusted, combined, or they can even be deepened, personalized, so made own in a way. So the spiral in that way of time becomes alive and it begins to meet us at this place where we are at the present moment, And in a way, it allows us to walk the time spiral in our own way, in our own rhythm. So we reach the part of the transmission where I have a few reflective questions, and these will be bound to the practices that I just mentioned in connection to the quantum time travel, which we can then use in our everyday lives. So I will repeat the practices once more, just to mention them, and then the question is coming for you, Trish. So we mentioned that we had these simple gateways that can shape and adapt our notion and our perspective on the circular time and how to live the circular time in everyday life. So these are timeline journaling, breath work with a conscious integration of the cyclical time, then something I call the mirror time. Then we can also make despacho offerings. And then we can be very, very attentive to this future self-embodiment, which is the really, really great important part of this practice of embodiment of the cyclical time. And then the daily rhythm, I call it the daily mythic rhythm, assessing our mornings, noons, and evenings, and looking at this as this sacred loop, one day at a time. And at the very end, the moments of synchronicity, kairos. So out of these 6 practices, which of these practices feels most natural for you, Trisha, to begin living circular time daily?
Probably the last one where the mythical and synchronicities.
The kairos, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a very, very beautiful and a mystical one, and also one of my favorite as well. So this is very beautiful. And I think when we begin experiencing these moments of kairos, the mysticality, synchronicities, and then proof of existence of divinity and the divinity in ourselves, well, this is when we already are embodying and walking the circle path. So that's a very good proof that this is attracting you, because this means that you are already on the circular time path. So welcome, to the spiral, Trisha. So one more question, please. Well, are there any places in your life that you can feel that you still are operating in survival time, in linear time?
Yeah. I live in the overwhelm right now.
Mm.
I allow myself to get too overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And I need to just calm down and remind myself on a regular basis that what will be, and that I can't control everything. That is all my responsibility. I can only do so much. But I've always had this I'm a Aries sun, Aries moon, Virgo rising. So I have this need to win and be perfect at the same time.
Oh, well,
It's really hard
beautiful
to not
dualistic.
to not take all that responsibility on and to release it all.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's just, yeah. So I just
yeah.
have to keep reminding myself that it's not failure if I don't get everything done, that if I can't do it all, that there's always tomorrow, that there's always next week, that it will get done. That
Of course, of course. And since you're able to observe, as I have noticed, through our reflective questions and through our time together in this course, you're really much observant of yourself, and this is almost half the job done to the healing, to the complete healing of these aspects of you that you're looking at, observing already, and working on bringing there where you want to bring them. So thank you for answering. And one more question then, and this is an important question. Well, can you envision if there are any ways that you can create a morning and an evening rhythm that treats your life as a daily ceremony? And this is this context of sacredness. How can we create our daily lives in a sacred space energy, so that we can kind of feel this divine flow, the presence complete in our lives. Do you have a vision in how could you create? Are there any practices that you could implement in the mornings, evenings to make your daily life more a sacred ceremony?
Well, I right now, every day I do a card reading for myself, a daily guidance message.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of my everyday morning practice. And then nighttime, it is whatever it is, but I'm trying to, this has become part of my nighttime practice now. And now that I have all of that, all of those, all that work with the portal, I'm going to definitely incorporate that into my nighttime practice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. These are things that are of great benefit for you and that are of your evolutionary curve importance. Beautiful stuff. Study, reading, upgrade of ourselves, staying conscious, observing ourselves. Thank you for answering, Trisha. So now we reach the second part of the transmission, and we're going to speak a little bit about this living the spiral of this circular time in our daily lives, and the proof within the shamanic practice, which we can use to implement the circular time and heal in our everyday lives. So the spiral of time is living, but it's not about ignoring clocks and time as so. It's about meeting our obligations with this state of presence. So then the quality of our energy is in a way bending the experience of time. And this feeling of time disappears. So in this state, really, we reach this state of the mythical kairos, the divine opening. And everything begins to appear as synchronicities in our lives. And we're kind of pulled toward this action. Oftentimes we can have sudden knowings because the spiral allows us to see and to step through, and then the line, the linear notion is rushing the past, and missing, the picture of the past in our present and our state as beings which should attain wholeness as the maximal healing in our field, and something that we should all strive for. So to live in this spiral of time, we have to practice these simple anchors. From the morning, well, let's say we can align with some breath work and remembering to show gratitude to life, to show gratitude to this very moment and the very breath. This can be a starting point. And also laying a sort of energetic intention for the day. So this way we stay conscious throughout our mornings. At midday, we can then make a small pause and also breathe deeply and consciously and ask ourselves, am I flowing or am I forcing through the day? And this is a very important question. And when we assess this, then we can continue throughout the day, forth to the evening. And then we can reflect on the whole day. And we can look at these kairos moments, the divine openings, the synchronicities. We can kind of, by looking at them, release the tension and close the day with a blessing, knowing that we are divine, that we are connected to something greater than ourselves. So very important to kind of assess ourselves morning, midday, and evening, consciously breathing, looking at ourselves, are we in a flow, in a state of creative flow, or are we forcing throughout the day? So coherence as such, which also is very connected to the state of presence, is stretching time. So we're kind of entering this timeless space, and we are collapsing whatever delay is in our life, and we are aligning opportunities into our field much quicker that way. So clear energy in our field, and this signal, we can call it so, is inviting synchronicities, because our inner rhythm is matching the quantum field pulse. So if we walk in this daily ceremony space, we can kind of welcome these loops of time as an invitation. We can seize these synchronicities, moments of kairos when they come. And then over time, life is beginning to feel less like a chase and more like we are carrying our life, and we are simply enjoying our life in the now. So we have a few reflective questions before the next part of our transmission. So Trisha, are there any visions for yourself on how could you make your morning and evening more spirally aligned rather than linear and rushed? Are there any practices which you can envision for yourself to create besides reading and studying, so that your focus can be on this staying in the circular time, this spiral of circular time?
I would really, I want to start more of a meditation practice in the morning. Um, I
It's
just
beautiful.
to fit it in.
It's beautiful, beautiful, very important meditation. This should be a really a firm rule in your everyday routines, because meditations and breath work, they're kind of number one practice for you to stay coherent in your field. And that's very important. So thank you, Tricia. So for this part of the transmission, we're going to talk a little bit about the proof to quantum time travel. Really important. And also because we want to share with our seers the energy medicine and the shamanic proof to quantum time travel, and how really it is possible to travel in time with our psyches. And also we're going to mention a little bit about the concept of the homo luminous, the new human. So quantum time is possible. And there are some simple truths for all of those out there who wonder, how so? So psychology is teaching us that the mind does not only live in the present. Our memory, our imagination, well, they use the same neural pathways when we recall a past event or imagine a future one. So our brain and body, they react as it is happening now, and this is a doorway. So we've been through a lot of mythical teachings lately, and myth is teaching us that time is just hours and minutes. It's this living story on top of that. And in quantum time travel, well, the notion of us as humans being on this constant spiritual evolution, which can be seen through an archetype of the hero's journey, then the time becomes more than a myth. It becomes like this inner technology of transformation. And we, in a literal way, begin in the ordinary world, and we are feeling this pull of something beyond. And we can describe as a call or an invitation to step through these thresholds where past, present, and future, they're folding into one field. And we spoke about this, that this is a challenge of healing our timelines. And then looking at every ally in a mirror of our higher selves. And also every shadow that we carry could be a key to this timeline heal. So we time travel not by some kind of a time machine, but we are traveling in our consciousness, by our psyche. So we are collapsing what was, and we are embodying what will be. And we are actually weaving those two into the now. So when we return, we carry these frequencies from the past or the future. And quantum time travel in that way becomes the journey home, the journey to ourselves, the journey to the very present moment. And from the present moment, we have this power to change everything. So let's touch a little bit of science then. Psychology, neuroenergy medicine, shamanism, and those together, the time itself becomes a navigable space with those aspects of science. So neuroenergy medicine is this union of neuroscience and energy healing. And this becomes then a bridge between body, mind, and our luminous energy field. So then we can speak about trauma. Trauma is not just a memory in the nervous system, you know. It's like a part of this biofield or luminous energy field, and it's affecting the very rhythm of our heart. And shamanism has known this for millennia. If we clear the imprint of trauma, or for example, coax back the part of our soul which we lost by a process called soul retrieval, then we are actually right away planting this seed of our destiny. And our personal story is changing. So in these four, psychology, myth, neuroenergy medicine, and shamanism, when they weave together, well, time itself becomes a navigable space. So practices for navigating the spiral of time, or as I love to say, assisting the threads of time. So we will mention 4 living practices that any skilled practitioner of energy medicine can use to assist someone for a concept which I call thread walking. And this is a conscious timeline navigation of these light threads that we can choose for our destinies. So, the practice of soul retrieval. Shortly, let's describe this. So we are entering this memory of our past lives with presence. And we are meeting the self or parts of ourself who froze in time. And we're kind of bringing those home with compassion. And this is actually repairing the psyche and clearing the nervous system's threat patterns so that we can come out the survival loop. Soul retrieval, very important and very bound to quantum time travel, because we are retrieving something from the past, installing it in the present. So this is consciousness time travel and healing in the present time. Next process is called destiny retrieval. So in destiny retrieval, we are actually journeying to our luminous future selves. And we are in a way harvesting this feeling, a vision, or an energy of our future selves. And for the purpose of anchoring that back in the present moment. So this is very similar as a soul retrieval. You're just dealing with the future and retrieving something back to the present moment. So neuroplasticity is beginning to shape the brain in this way. And our body is, in a way, by these retrievals, believing that the future and the past can be factually installed in the present moment. So third practice is release of all intrusive energies from our field. So what we have to do is to identify heavy or foreign energies which are kind of residing in our luminous energy field. And we have to release them back to Mother Earth, to compost, into life force again, to kind of circulate again. Then our field is clear. And of course, our mind feels lighter then, and our field feels more potent and energetic. So we can easier stay coherent. And coherence is really this optimal state of our body, mind, soul, and energy centers, which all of the humans actually should strive to achieve, because this is really the most healthy state, the state of wholeness, we can say, on a physical and scientific level. So next practice is the clearing and balancing of our light bodies. And this is our luminous energy field, or the so-called aura. For example, in the Karen nation, we practice, and we got this rite, which is called Chumpi Karpai, the bands of power. And these are the luminous bands of the elements installed around our field, and they're protective, really. So when we align these bands of power, they help us also to clear these imprints, trauma imprints from our field. And they kind of restore the symmetry of our biofield, really. And then heart and brain, they get into coherence, and everything becomes effortless for us in our daily lives. This is truly a state that all of us should kind of want to achieve. This makes our life really holy and easy, and it makes us stay present in the now, where the magic resides. So there's this concept which I named thread walking. And thread walking is not about erasing the past or predicting the future. It's about choosing the most coherent path in the field of infinite possibilities, actually. So, looking at the dualistic nature of humans and the union in these present times, we mentioned yesterday our greatest part of our subject was Pachacuti, the time of Pachacuti, the great return, the great turning, and the union of the feminine and masculine divine, and the balance created in the now. And also we mentioned that the eagle of the north will be flying together with the condor of the south. And then Pachacuti within us is reminding us that this turning of all that is out of balance and return to harmony really places us collectively also in the middle of the spiral of time, whether we be conscious or unconscious around that. So in this process and in the great turning of times, we're also touching this concept of becoming homo luminous, becoming a new human. And in this final turning, we in that way remember what the ancients knew, this prophecy. And also our science is actually rediscovering this. Coherence is the key. And in a mythical way, we can say that coherence is the state of feeling holy, feeling connected to the beloved, feeling one with the God, one with the source, in that way to say. So When our hearts rhythm and our brains focus are aligned, well, then all of our energies, they align. And we are no longer bound to this perspective of just one timeline. Then our reticular activating system is starting to flicker reality for in front of our vision. And the place of default mode network is stopping to replay old wounds, and it's starting to build on new experiences and new stories. So very important. Firstly, achieving this calm, coherent state, and then our perspective of time really changes. And these very important centers in our mind, in our brains, are then moldable and adaptable to accepting new perspectives on our future and installing new belief systems. So elevated emotions must be mentioned always in this context, because elevated emotions are like this fuel for transformation. We can in that way say that collectively, as we go through the great turning, we are all becoming homoluminous. And we can describe these as these radiant beings who are walking Mother Earth as guardians of beauty, of all her relations. Well, we can call ourselves keepers of the flame, or the dreamers and the dream, creating this reality into form. So in that way, each act of service towards Mother Earth, Pachamama, is nourishing this greater notion of the universal creation, the Kausai Pacha, the living cosmos. So here it is worthwhile to mention a little bit about the hummingbird medicine and how the hummingbird medicine is touching the hero's journey, on which all of the humans are on the hero's journey in one or another form. And this can also be connected to the notion of evolution into Homo luminous through going through our journeys and spiritual awakenings. So the beloved in this notion is the God. And in this part of the text, well, I am actually speaking to the hummingbird medicine as this God, as this godly divine being. So hummingbird is this tiny, well, creature, but it's really unyielding and it's crossing impossible distances. And for a single drop of nectar, well, this bird is carrying really joy in her wings, and is showing us that such a small creature can have a patience in its heart, and like this secret and automatic map to all the timelines. And this is giving the fuel for the now. So hummingbird is showing us that she can hover in stillness. And while her heart is beating really faster than the lightning, and it's reminder that stillness and motion can be one and true. And this is something that humans can use in everyday lives to calm themselves, just for comparison. So in all of us lives this Homo luminous, which is on a hero's journey, an evolutionary journey of the humankind. So the Homo luminous is carrying this vision, and the vision is that the human is able to walk between the worlds, the lower world, middle world, and the upper world. And in that way, we are balancing the energies of the earth and the sky, and also the elemental energies. So in this way, all of us together, we are moving through this spiral of time, and we are encountering these thresholds as a collective, which we can call the corridors of shadow. And we can see that the world is really with a lot of conflicts around in all the continents, and people are very violent to each other, and wars are really destroying quite a bit of much of the humankind's present and the future. So this is a collective energy we are talking about here. And then connecting this again to the tiny hummingbird and the courage of the hummingbird. How this very tiny creature can really travel greater distances and connects us to this all ancestral energy by a reminder. And it's reminding us actually that we can be lifted by these energies that we carry in our field, and also retrieve what was lost and implement our ancestral energies into our field as this energy that can carry us more safely into the future. So today then we can say that we are experiencing this living dance of Pachacuti, the great turning. So feminine, divine, and masculine, they meet here as kind of like these two flames in one heart. So with the deepest gratitude to the Kero nation, because they are the keepers of this sacred medicine wheel. I also want to send gratitude here to the four winds, to my teachers Alberto Iloldo and Marcelo Lobos, for tending these wisdoms and sharing them with the world. So these wisdom teachings arrived in all of our hands today. And you know, with the nectar of elevated emotion, we can receive all these ancestral blessings and really strengthen our energies in the present to be able to become this future human, new human. So which we collectively are on the path to becoming, so to say, in the great turn. So now I would love to connect the Munay-Ki rites to this notion of the quantum time trap. And we're going to mention a few interesting rites here. So by this cosmic lineage and the seed of stars, in the high mountains of the Andes, the Kero families, they are carrying these codes of time which is really older than human history. And they're kind of these keepers of the Munay-Ki rites, transmissions, we can say, of the living light. And among those, we will mention today the Mosok Karpai. This is the Star Keeper's rite. And this rite is actually like this bridge between the worlds. So how is this connected to quantum time travel? To receive this rite is actually to be woven into this great cosmic, well, picture or a loom. So the Star Keeper is placing us in a relationship to the Pleiades, the seven sisters. And this is the same star cluster which is revered in these origin stories across all continents and cultures. So in Kero understanding, a seed of stars is actually incarnated in Pachamama's dreaming. And this is representing us, humans, and her other relations and creations as well. So quantum time travel, shamanic way, is not about stepping into some kind of machine, time machine with gears and metal. It's stepping into this river of consciousness that runs through past, present, and future. And the Star Keeper rite is really a good example of this, because it's kind of entraining our luminous energy field to that same river. And it's allowing us to navigate these timelines really with the grace of an Earth Keeper. So the next rite is the Taitanchis Rantis, and this is the co-creator's rite. And this rite is awakening the remembering that we are not separate from the source. And in time mastery, this becomes essential. For without knowing that we are in the field, we will always imagine ourselves moving through the field. So creator consciousness is collapsing this illusion of linearity, linear time. And we're actually not traveling to the future, but we are unfolding the future from within. So the next rite I want to mention is the Kawak rite, and this is the seer's rite. So these are the soft eyes of our heart. This sharpens our inner vision, connects us to our third eye as well. And in shamanic time work, perception is really navigation. And seeing with these inner eyes, we actually feel these and perceive these subtle fields, and we can read the symbolic language of reality, and we can sense these threads that connect events across centuries. And this rite becomes like a compass of ourselves as time walkers. Let's call ourselves time walkers in this context. So this rite is actually enabling us to see deeper layers of reality and connect time light threads to the present. So from the Kero came this ancient practice of soul retrieval and destiny retrieval, which we mentioned as well before. So through these practices, we journey across timelines and we kind of bring home what was lost or call forward what was meant, what was always meant for us. And these acts then, they become in a way quantum causality. And that causality is changing the present by shaping the pattern of the past and the future. So this is directly connected to the notion of the quantum time travel. When we blend these rites that I just mentioned with kind of this expanded framework of today's neuroscience, quantum field theories, intentional coherence, we are not at all diluting these beautiful, beautiful ancient rites. We are honoring them and their design. And in that way, they become a living wisdom that kind of evolves with time as well. So the Starkeeper rite then becomes an invitation. The Creator's rite, it becomes like this authority. And the Seer's rite becomes the map. So in our hands then, we really truly become a time traveler, and we kind of implement and integrate this art of shamanic time mastery. And in that way, this becomes the return of the seed of stars in the garden of now. So this is beautiful. This is connecting the ancient practices with the modern science and the quantum field mechanics, and proving to us that simply by the change of our perspective and practicing these energy medicine practices, we can actually time travel and adjust our present by retrieving parts of our past and the future into our present. So Trisha, we have reached actually the last part of our session, but a very important one. We are going to anchor all of this wisdom into our final guided meditation. So here, our purpose is to meet the future self and merge the inner child with the future self into the present self and embody the medicine wheel in alignment. and also, of course, attain this full coherence embodiment. So, Trisha, I invite you to place your hand on your heart. And if you feel so, well, you can close your eyes and let's take a few deep inhalations and exhalations for this practice. Now let's imagine that we are standing in the center of a radiant medicine wheel. Allowing the serpent medicine to coil around our feet, to shed the old, and to allow us to flow free. And allowing the jaguar to sit behind us, to infuse us with fearlessness. We can become fearless in the shadows. And then the hummingbird is teaching us to drink the nectar of joy and ancestral memory. And the eagle soars in the sun, allowing us to see all the timelines from above, flying with vision. Now let's feel all the four directions spinning as a spiral and lifting our frequency into full alignment with the Kausai Pacha, with the living cosmos. And now, as we're aligned with our creation of the cosmos, it's time to meet our future self. Let's imagine ahead of us appears our luminous self, radiant and calm. And they're walking towards us with love and recognition. And when they stand before us, let's merge our hearts and our breath with them. Let's feel the confidence of theirs, vitality. And let's install the abundance into our cells and DNA. And as we are in the field now, every possibility, every potential exists here in the now. Now let's sense all the invisible threads connecting us to all life, to the four winds, to the luminous warriors of the Kero lineage, and also to the unseen keepers of humanity's fire. And in this moment, past, present, and future, they blend into one harmonic song, allowing our heart to broadcast a coherent signal. And this becomes a beacon to the quantum field, opening for synchronicities, opportunities. Now let's feel ourselves stepping across these timelines. And let's quantum travel through the spiral now. And here, unconditional love bends time itself, reshaping the path ahead. Now let's ask ourselves in this limitless field, what would love do? Now, what would love do? And the answer arises: create, heal, and serve. Now let's carry this forward as luminous beings, walking as time, walking as love. And now let's seal this spiral in the Kausalpacha, the cosmic creation. Let's visualize this spiral of light spinning through the cosmos and entering our field. Let's affirm to ourselves that we are walking in Aini and that we are abundant, that we serve the living cosmos. And with the deepest gratitude, let's honor the lineage of the Kero and the sacred teachings of the four winds and the great spirit that breathes through all things, and the luminous ones who guide our steps, the archetypes that walk beside us. And let's bless this medicine of the Kero, pure, ancient, unbroken. And let's bless all those people that we love. May all that has been said or unsaid, done or undone, be forgiven. And may the threads of our timelines weave into wholeness. May we rise in abundant glory. And that radiance, that is our birthright. So in your own time, Trisha, gently open your eyes and you can rub your hands a little bit and wiggle your toes. And welcome and welcome. So this was the ending of our session, almost ending. I just want to speak a little bit more about the state of coherence before we finish off. So in almost every and any of the old myths, shaman is always this bridge which is walking between the worlds. We can say literally between the stone and the star by this journey. So shamans are weaving timelines into threads of destiny, for example. So neuroscience is confirming this today, what these ancient medicine men and women, they knew for millennia. So coherence is not some kind of vague ideal. It's this measurable harmony between heart and brain and nervous system. So when our hearts then steady the function through gratitude and joy and compassion, then our brains, they align, And then this notion of the time travel, quantum time travel, really becomes very much possible, and we are able to retrieve lost soul fragments, or we can call upon the luminous seeds from our future. And in that way, we upgrade our luminous field, really. And this is something in science called neuroplastic repatterning, quantum alignment, and also archetypal integration into one. So when coherence is reached, all of these timelines, they collapse into a single empowered now. And then our frequency becomes our reality. So much for me today. Trisha, thank you for being here for all the 5 modules. And at the very end, I would like to say to the seers, well, if they want to contact me, you can do so on munay-ki@gmail.com for service in shamanic energy medicine and quantum field work. I'll see you in the field. Thank you.